It girls, beat boys, superstar DJs. Here we go! Somebody say ho! Ho! Say ho! 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 Now somebody, everybody scream!
Welcome to the Bronx Hip Hop Oral History Project. Today is Tuesday, April 8, 2025. I am Pastor Crespo Jr., the research librarian and archivist for the Bronx County Historical Society. Today, I am joined by Little Debbie, professionally known as China. Little Debbie is famous for creating the iconic hype phrase synonymous with hip hop. Somebody say ho! Did I do that justice?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Welcome, Little Debbie. How you doing today?
I'm blessed. How are you?
Great. And I know you're busy, so thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and plugging us in today. So let's get started.
Okay.
We start out all our oral histories by finding out a little bit about your parents. Tell us a little bit about each, where they come from.
Okay. Well, my dad and my mom are Doo Wop singers. They made the song Church Bells May Ring, which was a hit back in 1956.
Wow.
And I'm kind of like behind them. On everything that they've done, I'm right behind them. So my dad, he's from New York. My mom is from Alabama. And they came together. And actually, my mom was in a separate group from him. And they wind up getting together. And my mom gave birth to my brother Ricky, Terry, my co-founder of Somebody Say Hooo, is the middle one, and I am the youngest one, Debbie. So, with us three, we're pretty much a close-knit family. But my mom and dad, they're two people that was always together until the day that they deceased.
Beautiful.
And they're great parents. They taught Terry, Ricky, and I very well on how to be in life. And so here I am.
Awesome. About your mom, was there any story she gave you about Alabama that you brought back with you that kind of sticks in your head, how life was in Alabama and maybe why she moved to New York?
Well, she never really spoke about too much about how, she lived out there. I know that they was kind of well off. My grandfather and my grandmother, they was going through their little pushiness in their relationship. And she had to, there was cheating going on and domestic violence some type of a way, and she had to escape and come to New York. So that doesn't seem like it was a good story with my grandmother, with my mom, with that whole circle of the family type of domestic stuff going on. But overall, my grandmother left with my mom and came here, and my mom met my dad. So that's how they became artists together, because they both was in the music industry. So.
Got it. Did they first move to New York City or specifically the Bronx?
Harlem.
Harlem, all right. You remember what neighborhood in Harlem?
116th. That's where Doo Wop started, as far as to my knowledge. Doo Wop started with my dad on 116th, and I think Adam Clayton, but I'm not sure, I don't remember the exact street, but that's where Doo Wop, the heart of Doo Wop, started at in Harlem.
Right. Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard?
Pretty much, somewhere over there, somewhere in that area. I don't know exactly which street, but it's in Harlem, and it is on 116th Street.
Okay. Great. Awesome.
And the name of the group is the Willows.
Now, did you live in Harlem?
No.
Before you were born in
Well,
the Bronx?
yes, I'm going to bring it back. When I was young, I used to live in Harlem. When I was very young, maybe about 1 or 2, whatever.
Okay.
But by the time I hit like 7, 8, I'm known for being in the Bronx, living in the Bronx.
Got it.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the neighborhood you first lived in. Was that your first place?
In the Bronx?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yes, I came from Longfellow, and that was when I was probably around 7, 6. By the time I turned 8, 9, I was living on Vyse Avenue, which is a block away. So Vyse Avenue is the one that I can recall vividly on the things that was occurring during that time. So back during that time was like a lot of gang running, poverty.
Are we talking the early 70s, mid 70s?
72.
Okay, yeah.
71, 72. Yeah, so I moved away from there back in 1973. Okay, and when I left from Vyse Avenue, we moved to, actually, the whole building, apartments was being caught on fire. So they had to shut the whole building down and put everyone in a hotel or misplaced families into family homes or hotel, have you. So we went to the Concourse Plaza Hotel. And we stood there for maybe about a year or two. And by that time, we wound up moving to Tinton Avenue in McKinley Houses. And that is where I still resume right now. Outside of, I have a house of state. So I have 2 places. When I want to have fun, I come to the city. And when I want to lay low, I go upstate. So I just want to just keep that place so that when I come to do my business, it's there. So before that, let's go back to the hotel. When we moved from there to McKinley Houses, like I said, that was in 73. And then that's when, 2 years later, 75 is when I got into the realm of hip hop. And I may be missing a couple of things before that, but Raheem from the Furious 5 lived in my same building on Vyse Avenue. So I hadn't seen him for all of those years for about 2 years. And then when I moved to the projects, McKinley Houses, I ran back into him while running on a track team. So that Raheem is pretty much in my circle from childhood all the way to adulthood. Okay, so after running track, we all lost contact again. And then when we got into the hip hop world, there he goes again.
Got it.
So it was like Raheem was just always part of my circle. Actually, I call him my brother, you know, so that's the beginning of hip hop when I started with my sister, Little Terry.
Got it.
We were the one, as they said, that we coined the term "somebody say ho." A lot of people would say, how did it come about? Well, do you really want to know?
If you could share it with us, it'd be great.
Yes. Oh, it's so fun and it's all good. So, the way that started is because Terry's older than I am, okay? And she came to me, actually we had started working for the Bronx SYEP, Summer Youth Employment. First job, I was 14, and we were counselors at this place called YEP, whatever. So anyway, I was a counselor, and Terry was a counselor of the rap artist Fat Joe. So I never knew who he was before that. His family, I just met them. Actually, I knew them from the projects because I'm from McKinley. He's from Forest Houses. And no one knew about anything about anyone. So this is how we all come out as from young children to adults and become this big old celebrity type thing. He's on one end and my sister and I is on the other end, and we all collaborate together. But going back to that, so my sister said, would you like to go to this party? I said, yeah. So she said, bet, we're going to go. It was a flyer that she showed me. So, we went, and we had a really, really, really good time. Now, when we went to that party, people was just standing around and just boring. I just do not like going to parties that's boring. So, Terry said to me, listen, you want to go to another? I said, no, let's just stay here because, back during that time, it was, when we started, it was summertime. Summer youth employment is summertime type stuff. Mm-hmm. So, we stood there a little bit and she, like I said, she wanted to go to another spot, but I was like, no, let's just stay here. So we stood, she said, well, maybe next time we'll come to another one. But beside that, we started going to more and more different jams. Okay. And by that time, we never knew anything about a DJ. We came up, it was always a hi-fi. You let the record play, and it'll reject on its own and go back to itself. But this guy, Grandmaster Flash, we came from underneath his umbrella from, that flyer. From that time with the flyer, we just kept going more and more because he was fascinating to me. I have a good eye and I have a good ear. When I hear something and when I see something, I know as well. So, the second time when I went, although no one wanted to dance or anything like that, maybe they were shy, whatever, but I was shy too, so I couldn't really talk. But once I had my partner, my sister, Terry, with me, I was no longer shy anymore. So, now after going to Flash's parties, like maybe over 3-4 times, we became a member of being in that circle because we just kept going and going and going. And so, by us going, we were hype girls. When we found ourselves sitting there so long, it was like, all right, let's make this party happen. You got this hype DJ, we're hype, so let's make this be a hype thing together. So, Flash already wind up seeing us so many times, so he already took us in to be part of his family and his crew. So he said, hey, little Debbie, Terry, listen, give out this flyers. And I'm like, okay. And then the whole thing, 500 pages? Mm-hmm. So he gave Terry 5 and gave me 5, so that's 1,000 people. So therefore, I was good at doing my job. You give me a job to do, I get the job done. So he gave me every last one of them, and I gave him out. I used to work at, by that time I was like 16, 15, 16, getting older, mm-hmm. So Terry gave out a whole bunch of flyers that we didn't give them out together, we gave them out separate times. But we found that at the beginning, Flash, of course you're going to have people that's going to come to see you in the park because it's free, okay? And he gained a lot of people from that. But then when it was time to go inside, there wasn't hardly nobody there. Mm-hmm. I mean, they would come, but it wasn't really nothing. But, make a long story short, when Terry and I gave those flyers out, we started seeing a growth. Okay, from really to not that many people. It was people coming, but it wasn't that many. So as long as we kept giving out those flyers, the people attendance was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So we started out with the indoor parties such as the Hevelo, you had Black Door, you had the Dixie Club, you had 1111 Fox Street, you had T Connection, you had the Audubon. And these are all the different places that, started out small. Garrison, okay? And all these little spots, he wind up having to get larger places. Mm-hmm. And to sit there and watch for such a small setting, it was a big change. And when the change came, it was like there was a guy called Ray Chandler. He was the manager. Well, he wasn't the manager at the beginning, but he became the manager when he seen what I seen. We seen talent within Grandmaster Flash.
Okay.
And so by that time, I was a person that not only was a promoter, but I was also a dancer. I used to be a B-girl. You know, I started out as a B-girl, but I found myself all over the floor, and I'm like, nah. I used to wear my B-girl shirt, Little Debbie, B-girl. And I did it a few times, and I kept watching the different movements because it was constantly changing. It was just regular being on the ground and just doing a little this. But then you started finding people who were literally acrobats. They were flipping. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do that.
But you did do a little break.
I did a little break. I did.
Right.
I did it for a minute.
Got it. You up rocked and then you did some floor rock.
I did floor rock. Oh yes.
Gotcha.
But then I said, that's not for me. Like, I want something on my feet. I don't want to be on the ground scraping up my little legs and nah, I'm not with that. So, the hustle came out. And that was the dance for me.
Nice.
So, I wound up becoming a hustle queen. And I watched one of my good friends, her name is Michelle Hickman. She was my partner, and her brother was my partner. He was, in fact, the choreographer. So I used to watch him and her, and I used to adore them because they knew absolutely what they were doing. So I used to just watch and say to myself, I wish I was part of them. I wish that I could do that. But I had it, but I just didn't have the right people behind me. But then when he saw me dancing and he saw that I was able to manipulate the turns and the drops and the dipping and all that, I had that. So he said, he put his hand out to me and I went to him and he was showing me. He said, come to my house next week at so-and-so time and so-and-so place. I already knew where they lived, but they were my friends. So I went there and I was dedicated. And I would go every single day, and he would train both of us together. And so we had a routine. He would do her, and he'll do me together. And he'll have something for us both to do, and he'll send one out, and he'll be tumbling and flipping and doing all that with her. And then I would turn. I was no one could touch me in the spinning. I was like a spinning top. So that I had. But the dance itself is, it was an awesome dance, and his name is Blvd, God bless the dead, and he trained us very well. So with that being said, I drew a lot of people to watch because it was part entertaining, and people were so intertwined with watching breakdance, and then the hustle came in. They used to always crowd around the breakdancers. But now there's a new dance in town, and no one could touch me. No one could touch the girl Michelle Bunny. And they used to just huddle around us, and Grandmaster Flash used to say, listen, give them room. He said, if you don't shut the music, if you don't stop the hovering around them, I'm going to shut the music off. He said, make a circle. And they made the biggest circle. It was a great big park with masses of people. And the people wanted to see that. And so they respect what he asked for. Give her room. And with that, the crowd just kept on. And it just got larger. So I watched from day one with Grandmaster Fashion with little of none to him packing the Armory. The Armory is a place where soldiers go.
Kingsbridge Armory?
The one in Harlem. He packed the whole spot. Everywhere he went, he packed it. So with that being said, like I stated from the beginning, I seen talent. And what he pushed out is what I seen coming in my mind of what he would be. And that's who he actually is now.
Got it. Do you remember the first time you met Flash? Can you kind of tell us about that moment, how you felt?
Yes. Excuse me. I met him on 10th Avenue. My friend mom, her name was Miss Owens, God bless the dead. She would always give block parties. And she was the president of, of the community, of making sure the children have, summer fun. They would get little talent shows. They would get little block parties. When it was time for school, they would give us book bags. They would have drinks and all kind of good stuff. So I met him there on that block. And that's when I watched him. This guy is like turning around and doing the scratching, and he was just on point. Everything he did, he was just on point. And I like that because it was fascinating. It was different. And I didn't meet him, but I seen him for the first time. And after that, he just kept on DJing at this park called 23 Park.
Okay.
All right, that's located on 165th between Union and 10th Avenue. And still up to date, they have this thing called Old Timers Day that they give every year for all the people who has come up during that time. And we come together every year between 23 Park and Catona Park. Those are the two parks that they come together and they just meet everybody. Celebrities, Fat Joe, Grandmaster Cass, Shara, all of them, they all come here and we just get together, we just show love and, we just have fun like that and go back to memory lane. We still act like we're young, but we over.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we all good though. We're up in age, but a lot of us don't look it.
Yeah. No. You look young. So bless you.
Thank you.
You're a lucky man.
Thank you.
So
Yes.
McKinley projects?
Yes.
Talk to me about Little Debbie's walking out the lobby. What do you see? What do you hear? What's it like in the mid-70s, in McKinley projects?
In McKinley projects. Well, like I said, I moved there when I was 12. And it was a lot of gang running, abandoned buildings, just, people not having the things that they should have in order to survive properly. You had, I started out going to a public school where I was bullied.
What elementary school did you go to in the Bronx?
PS 140.
PS 140, all right.
Right. Our brother ran gangs too, by the way. So I was okay until he was sent away to prison. All right. So I'm the youngest, so I always looked up to the older. So when I went to PS 140, I was there alone. And I had a few people there who bullied. They stated to me that you better bring some money to school. I'm gonna kick you up. What? And I was so scared. I'm like, oh my God. And these people, they was hardcore. They wore those boots. I forgot what you call them, but there was a certain type of boot. But they were a lot of gang bangers. They wore those kind of boots, and that circle of girls, they
MC boots, motorcycle boots.
Yeah, those motorcycle boots. Yes. So I had fear of them beating me up, and I was there alone, and I was always a fighter, but I was smart. I said I'm not gonna fight with these girls, and they got a crew of them because I already know what they're gonna do. So I just let them kick me. Not all the time, because I wasn't going to keep letting you kick me either. Mm-hmm. But you would kick me, but I was just more fear of, coming out to school and they kill me or hurt me. That's what gangs do. They kill and they hurt. Mm-hmm. I watch. So I was just afraid for a minute. But by the time I graduated, I went to the school with Terry. Now we're together.
Middle school?
Middle school.
Which middle school did you go to?
Junior high school 120.
Got it.
That's located on Caldwell and 160, between 161st and 163rd. So pretty well part of that 161st, 163rd. But at that school, you had, back then, you had Mercedes ladies like Renee, R.D. Smiley, she went there. Tracy, she was Mercedes lady, she went there. Grandmaster Cash went there along with Terry and I. So all of us was young together there at that school. And, you know, we all branched off. So when I left from junior high school in 20, I went to Evander.
Okay.
So from Evander, I met Sha-Rock. All of these people were, you know, they all out there now, and they all were the ones that came out with this hip-hop thing that we never knew this was going to come out to be something big the way it is. But when we look back, we could say, dang, we were all kids and just going to school and doing what we had to do, and all the time we were going to be all into this unknown genre with the hip hop, and we all became popular with it. Everybody had their own thing, you know. Sha-Rock, she's the first rap artist. You have Little Debbie, Little Terry, the iconic sisters who came up with the term that everybody used worldwide. You got Grandmaster Flash, you got the Furious Five, and you know, everybody's just doing their own thing, but you know, we made a difference. We paved the way for a lot of these hip hop artists today that don't even know some of the people who's really behind it. We are the creators of it. So this, I appreciate you for bringing this out, because they need to know the history
Absolutely.
of where it come from.
Absolutely.
Okay, and you know, we
Straight from the mouth of the pioneers. Straight from the mouths of the pioneers.
right.
You know.
There you go. So, and I'm saying it, and they're gonna know, you know, it came from the pioneers, like my dad. They're pioneers too.
Absolutely.
Doo Wop.
Doo Wop, yes.
You know, you got the Doo Wop, blending it with the hip hop, and you know, I had the
How was it at home? Let me interrupt you. Because me with the Doo Wop, you know what I mean? You got your mom and your dad who were just very musically inclined, and it's obviously rubbed off on you,
Right.
you know, and your sister.
Mhm.
So talk to me about what were like home parties, your family parties. What were those events like? You know?
It was wonderful.
You
It wasn't
were-
wonderful.
Okay.
Sometimes things can look good on the outside, but on the inside it's not that good.
Got it.
One thing what I can say is that my parents are loving. They're awesome parents, but they got crazy sometimes.
That's all right.
You know, but you know, my mom and dad, you know, they had their differences. You know, in the industry, you know, they got robbed from their royalties as normal. Not normal, but it seems like it's normal in the industry that people, when they get robbed of their royalties, it seems like it's the right thing to have gotten done to them, but it's not. I don't like it worth of nothing. I think it's unfair, but you know, people should read their contracts and know what they're doing. But my parents were young. My dad started out at 15. So what does he know about a contract?
Right.
So what they did, they got the fame, but not the fortune. So I think that took a toll on their life. You know, sitting there living damn near poverty, you know, and the people with your music got everything, living in homes and yachts and all this. And I think that messed with them. And of course, you know, you had alcohol playing a part, and alcohol plays a part with you just not thinking rationally. And, you know, when people drink, they want to basically argue and fight. So that was some of the things that came into play. But, you know, at the end of the day, you got to come down. And once you come down, you back to reality. So those are the different things, channels that, you know, we've gone through coming up in life. You know, but I accept my parents. I don't care how they were, what they did. I still love them. The music, I love their music.
Awesome.
I love the way they raised us. They just had their little differences.
Of course.
So, you know, it is what it is.
Now, in middle school, were there still gangs around when you were going through middle school, you know, visibly?
Of
You know,
course.
which were the gangs you saw? Not heard of, but
I
physically
saw the
Because they were
Black
wearing colors
Assassins.
back then, right?
Huh?
They were still wearing colors back then?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
There was the Savage Nomads, the Roman Kings, Black Assassin, Black Spades, Roman Nomads.
Got it.
Those ones I can recall off the top.
Got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. And how was it interacting with them? I know you said you were like in elementary school, gangs, and you know, you were scared. You know, but now you're in middle school, right? You know, you're getting a little older. You know, how did they fit into your environment, the gangs? Were they there doing? I mean, because I know a lot of people say.
Well, they started dying out after a while.
Okay.
Like, you know, they started fading out like in 79, 80. They started fading out. Maybe a little bit before that. But I didn't see it as rampant as I did.
Right.
You know, it was like less of being afraid of him, because I was afraid of him. Although my brother ran it, I was afraid of all of that. I just didn't like a whole bunch of people. I know that my mom, you know, they went through their little differences.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, you know, my brother, he's the type, he's very a type of guy on money. But he don't like certain things, So he used to run away from home. So that's part of my book. You know, he said to me, put it in the book. So my book is going to be, if I can get my mind and my hands well, not my hand, but the typing going on, I can finish the book up. The book is practically almost finished though. But that being said, my brother, you know, he said to put that information in there. He used to run away from home, and my mother used to cry, and you know, my father on the other hand would be tipsy and tripping out, and when he go to sleep, she wants to go look for him, and I'm like, here we go. So now she wants to go to the clubhouse. Now we sneaks out, go walk down Tremont Avenue, and here come a mass of guys and girls. I'm like, we're gonna die tonight. But that's the Black Spades coming down the block.
Mm.
And my mom, she's like bold. And I'm like 9, 10 or whatever. And we walking, poor things, 2 o'clock in the morning, walking through all the games. They didn't bother us though. But 8, 7 years after the fact, I became part of a game called the Casanova Crew.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Casanova Crew is the crew that protected Flash's parties.
Right.
So, you know, they were good to us. But if you come in the mix, you got a problem. A lot of people were scared to go to some of Flash's parties because of them. Because they like to fight, bug out, we young.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what people in the game do. They were cool sometimes, but a lot of time they was off the chains. I gotta admit, you know. But you know, that's just the way it was with the gays back in the days. You know, we never wore no colors, but everybody know who the Casanovas are, and still up to the day they are getting proclamations and awards for being security, for their name. Casanova is the extension of the Black Spades.
Right.
So the main person, which is Marion Phantom, he's the main one of Tiny. There you go. So he's the main one of the Black Spades slash Casanovas. They together.
Right.
It's a family type of thing. So we still are who we are today. I have a son by one of the Casanovas. My son is 45 now, getting up in age, you know. But that's going to be my family forever. The Casanovas, that's just my family.
Nice.
The same way with Flash and Nelly Melanom, they're just my family.
Does the Casanova Crew have reunions, anniversaries?
Yes, they do. They come together. But I don't hardly really go to, you know, many of the events. Because people's crazy today. I don't get into all of that. But I do still hear from them by phone, or I see them at the venues, or, things like that. So I seen Tiny. I got that award right there. You see the one where it says, that one.
Hip Hop Boulevard?
No, that one.
Gotcha.
That's the
Bay Head House?
Yeah, the Bay Head.
Brenda
I met
Brown?
Tiny there, and he was part of that.
It got a little bit of a glare, but everyone can kind of see the award.
Yeah. So Tiny, he gets a lot of awards and stuff like that for security.
Got it.
There's a I think I have it in my bag.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Ooh. I have here. This is the first time that I
Nice.
got some. Now this is not mine. This is Melly Mel's.
All right. The badge or the...
This badge is security. This is what we always did. This is what Tiny's the head of.
Nice.
Security. So this is what basically why they get a lot of recognition from keeping the party safe. And this award right here was supposed to go to Melly Mel, but it's mine.
And you don't
And
stop.
I told him that I was going to keep it, but this is the first. I cherish this because this is the first time I was noticed of somebody say "ho."
Got it.
I never knew. I knew I took a big part in the circle of hip hop, and I knew that I did security, I did the promotion. And Terry and I was always the hype girls, and I knew that there was a place for us somewhere. But Flash and the first five, when they did what they did, the first song, the song that they did, Freedom, Terry and I was supposed to have been on that song. But the time went out, and Ray Chandler, he listened, it's getting late, so they did away with that. But here it is 50 years later, you have Scorpio that put out a video stating that
I saw it.
Little Debbie and Little Terry are the creators of Somebody Say Ho. And he explained from the bottom to the top on and I was like, oh, really? Okay, that's nice. So when that came out, then the doors started opening up for Terry and I. This was just 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So when see, Terry is more in contact with Scorpio. They do a lot of talking,
Right.
So she gets the information and she brought it to me. She said, Debbie, we're going to the AMC. We're going to go over there. We're going to meet Tiny and we're going to this, that, and the other. Okay, cool. So I went there and I'm just observing and seeing. I'm like, oh my God, look at Sha-Rock. Oh my God. I haven't seen Sha-Rock since high school.
Wow.
And here she come popping in. And we just gave each other mad love because, like, you done went out there in the celebrity world and you all over the world and stuff like that. Everybody doing their own thing. But, so, after meeting everybody and Tiny goes up, he gets his award. And then Terry said, listen, Scorp said if Mel and I get an award, that you and Terry pick it up. So, for sure, they got an award, and I picked up this one, and Terry picked up the other one, and we represented for them. We spoke about, how we came up with them and what this meant to us, because what's theirs is ours. We helped do this together.
Mm-hmm.
So, once I picked that up, I told him, I said, this is mine. This is mine to keep. He said, Debbie, please.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't mind me having that.
A nice memento. That's awesome. Now, didn't Keith Cowboy also use that? Was he one of the first?
Yes, so Keith Cowboy, where Keith coming at is that Flash never had an MC at all, never. But Keith Cowboy come from Franklin Avenue, which is the other side from where we live, but Terry and I used to, be up on that block. We used to be with Tracy, which is the Miss Sadie lady's brother named Donald, and we were tight.
Mm-hmm.
They were called the Boston Road Crew. So the Boston Road Crew, we would be around them, and that's how we met Keith. And then we started hanging out with Keith and his sister, Niecy. Keith, Terry, and I would hang out every single day, all day. And then we just started going to the parties together. Somehow down the line, Keith picks up the mic, and that's how he became the first MC of Grandmaster Flash. So he's the very first one. So like Scorp said, yo, like these girls, they just walking around a party and it irked them. People used to literally say, shut the FRBs, and cause we literally used to scare the people with the screaming, oh, whoa, whoa. We was just hikers. We just didn't like quietness. So we said it so much that, like Scorp said, that Keith picked up the trait of us saying, ho, ho, somebody say ho. So that was the birth of Somebody Say Ho. When Keith started saying it, and then it went on, and it just went on to Starsky, Lovebug, it went to AJ, it went to Breakout, it went to all the local DJs. And everybody started saying, somebody say ho. Then it went out of the state.
Right.
And it became worldwide.
It just blew up.
Blew up, just like that. So that's why they are recognizing Terry and I. And I never thought this would happen in a million years.
That's awesome.
It really is. So that's who I am.
Do you recall the first time you used that term?
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about when that was and the first time you threw it out there at the crowd?
That started like in 1975. I told you it was boring.
Yeah.
Nobody was dancing, nobody was moving, everybody was standing up against the wall.
Was it a certain club, a certain jam that you were at?
Yes, you know, the club, the Black Door, T Connection. You had Dixie Club. Those people was standing there, up against the wall, high up, whatever, but they just standing there. And then my sister and I would get up and we'd do the hustle and dance and oh, whoa, whoa, and you know, they just linked onto it. So when we got up, they got up. And that was when the party always began, because of being her. Because nobody wanted to get up. And then when they did get up, now we're excited. Now we want to scream and make noise. So that's where the term ho came from, because we got over excited and started screaming. We got the people up, now let's scream. Let's add more to it. So we was just a little bit extra.
Right, trying to get that crowd moving.
And we got it. We did get it. So now, you know, that's what they know us for, the Loud Mouth Sisters.
Awesome. And did you ever go on a tour with any guys, with, you know, stateside or even short tours, you know, within the city?
That's what we was upset about.
Okay. Talk to me about that. What upset you?
Because, well, Flash will always be that's my brother straight up. When he and the Furious Five went on tour, we were well disappointed. Because we thought that he left us, they left us. How did you leave me? And we still feel like that today. Mm-hmm. Not so bad, because we kind of like grew out of it, but we was just that close. The whole crew, Scorpio, Raheem, Creole, Keith, Flash, the whole crew of them. We just felt that they left us, and which they did, but they had to do their bit, take care of their business, and I understand that, but we didn't understand that then. Right. I understand it better, but we were young, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old, we still kids. But when they left, that's just what we thought, they left us, and they didn't even come back for us. And so we thought that Flash should have sent at least not really the rappers, but we was holding Flash fully responsible because he was the one who put all of those flyers in our hand and said to promote, and we promoted him, and all those people came out. I mean, he got a lot of them himself too, but we helped that to happen. So you left and you didn't come back for me, and I don't like that.
Yeah. Well, you know, back then, there's no Facebook, there's no social media, right?
Right.
Unless you're on TV, those flyers are it.
Right.
You know, moving those flyers around are bringing the crowds, whether it's a basement jam, at the church, at the rec, at the park.
And let me tell you,
Pivotal.
it started out at Mean Gene's mother. Well, that was one of the places where we started out at before all of
Graham
the
was
big old
Theodore's
clubs.
brother.
Yes, Mean Gene. It was before it was Theodore. Theodore was a little boy doing none of that DJ stuff. But he would always peek out and watch us. I'm like, what's this little boy keep coming out for? But he was watching how the DJ was all of that.
Right.
But Mean Gene mother, I love her. She always had the little house parties, and you know that was one of the first parties we started going to on the indoor, because the mother always gave parties at her house. Good, delicious food, drinks. We just had a ball at Miss Livingston's house.
Now, this is the 70s. Talk to me. It seems innocuous, right? But what food did you eat? What were those meals? What was it like?
We had fried chicken, of course, collard greens, rice, potatoes. She had all kind of food.
Okay.
It was she threw down
Some soul food staples.
Soul food, yes. So you know, okay, the yams. That's what she cooked. Good food, delicious.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Nothing like mom throwing a party, huh?
Nah, that's that. I always have to mention that. I mentioned that in my book how it all started.
Right.
It was always Mean Gene and Flash. For what reason they separate, you know, that's that. But Theodore started peeking in, and then Theodore started coming out. And then he was, you know, Flash was, you know, teaching him on the down low. He was teaching him and showing him, you know, and Gene, you know, he just learned. He got it, you know, faithfully through who he was around that circle.
Yeah.
Even Terry and I, we used to get on a DJ. Flash used to move on. Let's show us how to do that. And we would get there and we would play with it a little bit. That's what we did. They didn't really show us, but they let us on it and let us play with it a little bit. But then we left it alone. That's not what I want to do.
Got it. Definitely influenced you and put that bug in you.
Huh?
Definitely put that bug in you with that curiosity.
Yes,
You know?
yes. We got on it though, but we didn't know how to do it.
Were you, did you ever cut a record or anything and, you know, be part of, you know, and throw your hype phrases out there, you know?
I have songs, my husband and I, we have songs together.
All right.
And
Are you okay to talk about that, or that's something?
Oh yeah, I could talk about that too. That's another big.
Yeah, talk to me about music you put out. I mean,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
a singer, a rapper.
I'm a rapper.
You're a former B-girl. You know, and,
Yeah.
and you're the ultimate hype girl.
Yeah.
You know, for sure. You know.
So I never knew. I was never a singer. I wish I was able to. My mom have a powerful voice. My mom have a voice like Keisha Cole. My dad, he's more of a backup. He have that tenor voice type thing. They both awesome in the music, but I never knew that I would ever be in the field of music. Only through them. But then I used to go to this club called Cafe Lou, and they would have open mic. And I was never the type to get up in front of anyone and to do anything. But then I took a couple of, you know, sips of my little drink, and I guess I felt a little tipsy. And I decided, because, you know, I came up with the music with James Brown. Stay on the scene, get on up, like a sex machine, get on up, wait a minute. And that song, I said, let me get up and let me do that. Man, I got up and I started doing that song, and I just did it every week when I did karaoke. And that song I got stuck on it. and I recreated it.
Mm-hmm.
And the owner would say, "Hey, Debbie, get up and go sing," because I was bringing the people in, because they was like an entertainment. So I kept on doing it over and over again, and that was a top song. No one was doing rap but me. Everybody was doing slow songs, so I was basically the one, again, hyping up the people. Excuse me. And then they said, "Oh, they're gonna have a karaoke contest," and I started doing Salt and Pepper Shoot. Hey, yeah, I wanna shoot, baby, shoot, shoot, baby, shoot. Okay, I did that. But anyway, that song came out, and I did that, and those was my two favorite songs. And when they did the karaoke contest, I went every week, and I watched who I was up against. And I said, when I come back, I'm gonna come back with fire. And I came back, I did that song, and I took first place. And then the girl, no, it was a tie.
Okay.
It was a tie. My mom was there, you know, she sang, and she said,
There ain't no ties.
She took the girl mic. It was cute though. But anyway, that's how I, you know, started with the music. I wind up the girl, when I came back the second time, she beat me. I wound up taking second. And how I met her husband is because one of his friends who I grew up with knew him and knew myself, and he told Priest, "I know this girl, she know how to rap, da da da." And so he introduced me to him, and that's how I was introduced to Priest, because they're producers, and they produce my music. And from that point on, we got a lot of songs together, and we do a lot of shows, you know. We are on magazines and everything that consist of him and I, on how, you know, we've been doing it for so many years. Right now I'm trying to finish my documentary, my book. Now I gotta do the song Somebody Say Hooo, which I already did one, but I want to do part 2, the remix.
Okay.
So
When's your documentary expected to come out? In a year, 6 months, a year? How do they take time?
I'm gonna give it about another 6. I've already been working on it since last year.
Okay.
So, you know, the person who you spoke with, he's the one who's directing it, organizing it, and stuff like that. So that's why when he was saying, "Why are you telling these people?" Because if he's doing that, you know, that was my fault that I didn't think of it. But when one person is doing one thing and you doing another, it's going to crash. So I was telling him, he said, "Oh, Debbie," he said, "Listen, just find out what he's going to ask you, what are you going to be talking about, so we don't have a duplicate." So that's what all that was about. It's nothing there.
Yeah. And this is your video. So you're more than welcome to recut this video, re-edit it, and use it for your own purposes, especially that documentary.
Thank you.
You know, this is what this is about.
All right. So yeah, you have a lot. That's just who I came up with, the family, mother, parents, the friends, everybody that, you know, that I was in the mix of, that all of this came to be about.
Right.
Everybody was part of it in my life, you know. So.
And any other celebrities outside of the hip hop world that you collaborated with on any of these events that you went to, or?
No, well, those are the only people that I collaborated with, you know. My mom and I remember back then, I remember Frankie Lyman and James Brown, you know, Bishop Roundtree. Those are the people who came up during that time. Al Green. Those were my parents' friends. And I remember back, you know, when my grandmother used to live in Rochelle, she had a mansion up there, and all those people used to come over there, and I used to be around all of that. But you know, I was young. That didn't matter to me. I didn't know anything about no celebrity, but down the line, now I know who those people were. Talking with them, being around them, and all of that. So I was basically around celebrities all the time, you know.
Right. You grew up in it.
Yes, I grew up in the circle of all of that.
That had to have been great.
And the household was a lot of music, good music. Yeah, I had the opportunity to be honored to perform with the Willows. I was always shy, and my husband used to say to me, "You know what? Drop something to this person." I'd be like, "Oh my God." I keep telling this guy I am not a person to freestyle. I never was the type to do that.
Right.
You could give me the track and I would just simply write to it. But he used to constantly put me on the spot, and I used to hate it with a passion.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would drop something, what I dropped was something that I knew from my song. But they didn't know that, but I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I would drop it, and then when the people walk away, I would badger him. "What I told you? Didn't I tell you don't do that? Don't put me on the spot with these people." Blah, 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 blah. And he said, "You're an artist? Really? So what if Hot 97 say to you, 'All right, drop something, what you got?'" And I said, "He got a point. Wow, he got a point there."
It's prepping you.
Right. So my dad, my mom had already passed away, so he used to always take me to his gigs, right? And I would always sit up front. He would always pretty much have a setting for us. And I went by myself. It was just me and him and his group. And I'm sitting there because I redid his song. That song that Church Bells May Ring, I redid it. And the group already know me as an artist on how I perform. And they like me. Simple as that. And so I'm sitting there enjoying, and before I know it, the lead singer is doing this to me. I'm like, oh boy. Here we go. Here we go. Now I'm challenging myself. I'm scared to go up there. What am I gonna do? But I said to myself, you always at war with your own self. And I'm like, Dad, what am I going to do? Oh my God. And I said, now if you're a true artist, I'm hearing him battling me. I'm hearing myself battling me. And I'm like, oh my God, should I go or should I not go? I said, if I don't go, I'm not a true artist. I said, if I go up there, I might go up there and embarrass myself. So I'm like back and forth. So, I used to be a model. So I already know how to do the walk, I know how to do the talk, I know how to do all of that.
Right.
So I just stood up, boom. Now no one know why I'm standing up. And now I'm saying, now you got one more thing to do, miss. Now walk. Now if I walk, now either you're going to go out the door or either you're going to go on the stage. And I went up on the stage, I was so scared. And my father looking at me like, where is she going? So I took the steps slowly, and I was so afraid. By the time I got to the mic, I said, "Know what I'm going to do?" See, I know my dad's tone, I know the leaders, I know all of their voices. So I put all that into play, and I said, now what song am I going to do? So what I did was I took Frankie Lyman, remember, then I took my father's song, Church Bells May Ring, the church bells may ring, and the whole audience got up, and I had a standing ovation.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, I did that. And it must have been about 3,000 people there. So I said, you're a true artist. You can do it. And I just did not think that I could pull it off. And I got more than what I expected. My father looked at me like, what? Where did you come from? Huh? And then I looked at the band and I was like, we doing doo-wop hip-hop here. We're not just doing doo-wop.
Right.
And the band, see, I was good with, having them to follow me. And they followed me. When I did that, they know, speed it up. They speeded up and everything just collaborated together. And that was that show. Awesome. And up to today, I'm looking for that concert that they had. I can't find it.
Which concert again?
I don't even remember the name of the place. But I know it was after my mom passed away. See, they wasn't getting kids back to back. they was not like, every day. They would get a show maybe every month or something like that, but not, sometimes you go on tour, you gotta do it every day. But this particular show, I know it was after my mom passed away in 2000. So it must have been like 2001. It had to be around that year. And they didn't really perform that much in 2001 that I could recall. Maybe they did, I don't know. But I know that was in 2001. I'll find out, hopefully.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Priest, do you think she ought to drop something or put her on the spot? Nah.
Put it on the spot.
What? You tripping.
Put it on the spot.
Only if you want to, don't feel pressured.
No, I'm not pressured at all,
Awesome. Is there anything that you'd like to cover about your hip hop career, people you work with, that I haven't asked you?
Listen, I'm a retired teacher. I just retired 3 years ago.
Thank you. People tell the military, thank you for your service. I'm going to tell you, I did 20 years in the military.
Oh, my.
And I did 6 months as a substitute teacher. Thank you for your service, girl.
You're welcome.
My job was easy.
Listen, wow. Listen, I taught for 35 years. Can you imagine? I went through hell and back. I just did a little write-up on teachers. It was asked of me, what was it like being a teacher? And I gave it to them. This is what it was like. I'm not pulling no punches. I'm going to tell it like it is.
How did you, I'm kind of curious, as you're teaching and you're moving up to your 35th year,
Mm-hmm.
and you're watching the influence of hip hop on these kids, what are you thinking? Like, I was there at the beginning.
Let me tell you
Kid,
this.
yeah, please.
Well, let me say, my principal, he already knew my background, that my dad was into the music industry, and I told him I am, part of the hip hop realm. I didn't know I was somebody Say Hooo yet, but I told him I came up in that era, and I am an artist as well. So he says to me, that's nice, nice. But then, when all was said and done, I was called to the office, like about maybe 3 weeks later. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? Now I'm like, what did I do? Did I say something to somebody? Whatever. So, the letter came to my box that he wanted to meet with me, da. So, okay, fine. I get to go to the meeting. So he's printing. I'm looking so professional with my glasses, look like a secretary, just ready to just talk about business. Okay, so we're speaking. He said, well, how are you doing this morning, Miss McConaughey? I said, I'm doing very well, thanks for asking. He said, so the reason why I called you today, because now prior to that, I'm always working with the babies.
Mm-hmm.
First, second, third, like at third grade, like that. And then I would take a little trip upstairs to see how the middle schools are. They was bananas. They was walking around like they was at a dago club. It just didn't even seem like school. It just seemed like it was just craziness. And I would just run back down because I don't want to be around that. And so he says, oh, the reason why I called you was because I wanted to know whether if I would like for you to teach 7th grade social study. I said, oh no. My whole attitude changed right there.
Mm-hmm.
I was nice, happy, spunky, go lucky. And number one, I like social studies, but that's not one of my forte.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you put me in social study. That's not what my license is for. Second of all, you put me with 7th grade, my license is not for. Okay, so I'm out of my license.
Mm-hmm.
And I said 7th grade social studies. I said, no, I don't want to work with those candidates' children. He said, no, yeah, you could do it you good for that. I said, no, I'm not good for that. Because, see, one of the teachers said something out of her mouth that I didn't like. And when I first started, we want to introduce you to a new teacher. Her name is Ms. McKinley. And somebody pushed me in the circle, which I don't want to be known. I just wanted to be in the cut. And when she pushed me out, now I had to say something. I said, well, good morning, everybody. My name is Ms. McKinley. I'm just happy to be here. Thankful that I'm here. And, it's a pleasure to be here. And I'm, again, just happy. Somebody in the background said, you can say that now. And I looked back. I said, you know what? I can say that now, and I'm going to say it for everlasting. Because I'm a teacher, and I've been a teacher, and I'm going to be here a teacher, and I'm going to leave here a teacher in one piece. And he's seen that this chick, she don't take no shorts.
Yeah.
And so he took that, and he used that, and he wants me to go upstairs, because that's a strong teacher right there. I'm not taking no talk from you, teacher, or none of these people here. And so he said, I want you to be a teacher. And Pastor, he kept on and on for about a good, damn near 45 minutes to an hour. I said, sir, I said to you, I don't like teenagers. I don't like social studies. I don't like none of this.
You ain't getting it.
You ain't getting it. He begged me. I've never seen nothing like this. Please, McKinley, you could do it. I see you. You could. I said, sir, I can't do that. And all this dainty, I was like this, like hood now. I'm acting like, because you put me in a crazy house. If I go upstairs with those teenagers, I'm going to jail.
Right.
Because they're going to fight you. They're going to beat you up. They're going to curse you out. They do everything, these kids. And I said, what part do you not understand? The no or I do not want to. I don't. He said, listen, McKinley, don't worry. I got your back. And I looked at him. I said, all right, I'll take a try at it, because I'm a daredevil anyway. Let me see. Man, when I went up there, the kids, instead of them lining up, I'm standing at the door, knowing that the way I did it downstairs, the kids line up, and then they enter the room. They walked all over my foot. They act like I wasn't there. And I'm like... And then I'm waiting for them to sit down in their chair. And they just talking, and they, boy, pants hanging. The girls is hugging the boys. It was like madness. And I said, good morning. Hello. Good morning. They didn't pay me no attention. I said, I got something for that tomorrow. I went back there the next day with my sneakers and my jeans. I had my shirt pulled back. And I said, this is going to be the deal. Just walking in the room. I stood right there, right in the middle of the door. I said, well, good morning, boys and girls. They had to stand on the line. Good morning, boys and girls. I said, so, this is going to be the deal. What I did, because the way they have the table set up now, they have them in fours. There's no more line up back to back. That's over. There's four tables per area. The purpose of each area is because you have some that are fast learners than others. So the red ones is the ones who need help. The green ones is one that's good. They can work together, and they just mix them up. So it won't be too much fast working going together about the kids catching on. So I didn't know any of that until after the fact. But I flipped the tables and made them all straight. And I stood in front of the door. I had my clipboard. I put names on who's going where. And I said, well, good morning, boys and girls. I said, there's not going to be no walking today. What we're going to do is we're going to stand here, and we're going to be placed at a certain table in a certain area. Oh, you can't do that. I said, you don't tell me what I could do. You come here to learn from me. I don't come here to learn from you. So, Tina, first table, first row. She walk in. I don't care about your eyes. Get your butt in there. And I did it like that. I still caught a little trouble from them. But I said, I got to do something with these. I said, who back here? that's how I caught him. Oh, I can rap. That's the day or two. Who know how to rap? Let's get this together. Y'all talking about y'all, all this, that. Let's see how much, make up a rhyme and throw it to me right here. And I would throw something, rap something to them, and they'd throw rap something to me. Somebody videoed me. And it went to the principal. And he says to me, what is this that I'm hearing that you rapping in the room? I said, that's what I do. No, you told me to go up there. I can't do nothing with them. But when I bring it to my culture and to my ways of being, then they're going to gradually catch on. And that's how I caught them, through rap. And then I started getting more participation. I started getting more love. I started to get more of them wanting to be involved with doing the work, because I took the hip-hop, rap style, and I incorporated it into my work, into the curriculum. That's how I got them.
Did you ever bring any of your friends into the classroom?
No,
No?
I rocked them myself.
You got it.
Yeah, I fought. I'm a fighter, so these kids, they were really literally.
No, I meant like your rap friends in the hip-hop world.
No, I made them my rap artists. I made them rap. And then he wanted to make me a art teacher. I said, I don't do art. This guy is putting me into situations that is not under my life. But I appreciate it because he gave me a chance to expand and excel in my style of being, of who I am, who I was initially, hired to do. Common branch, just regular math, reading, science, social studies. But I was able to branch out and learn a lot of other things. This is what I did like about my principal. So, he said, you were going to be the art teacher. I said, art? What do you? I said, sir, I don't know no art. He said, you're a hip-hop artist, right? I said, right. He said, put it in it. I said, okay. So I put it in there. So I was having teams competing against each other on who's the best writer. There's no cussing, just write your songs and compete, and let's see who's the best one. They're all the winners, but we want to pick the top ones, and we're going to see who have the skill to put it out there. But it has to be educationally. It was narrowed down. It can't be no cursing. It has to be about something about you, something you like to do, something you choose to do, something you don't like to do. So it was nice. I had it hooked up because I had to think, how am I going to get to these kids? Mm-hmm. And I found a way to get to them. I had my battles with them a lot. One girl told me she was going to punch me in my F face, B. I was like, oh my God. I said, girl, listen, you ain't doing nothing to me. Nothing. You think I'm bad? I said, I don't care about all of that. And then that chick come down, I said, oh my God. Here she comes. And that girl she went to throw a punch and I caught her. I prayed on her. I said, God, please don't let this girl. And she literally threw her punch. And I said, God, please, because I'm ready to retire. Please get this little girl out of here. I don't need this. I don't want it. But here she comes. What am I going to do with her? That girl was already there with her arms drawn. And I just caught it. Boom. And I was so strong, because I'm strong. I held on to that kid. And I would not let go. She was trying to get out of it. And I just caught the other and I just had her like this. And I was like, you know what, you bugged. You running up on me like that, so get out of here. You're weak. You come over here weak. But, that's just me. I don't come from no place where you're going to just punch me in my face. And I'm the adult, and you are the child, and you're going to curse me out, number one. I don't like it. Mm-hmm. You're going to respect me. That's what you're going to do. Yeah. From the day I'm here to the day I leave out. And the kids love me because I just didn't stand. I had children of my own. I didn't let them do that to me coming up. Watch all that, you strange kid, disrespect. And see, the children today have no respect for the adults. And I see a lot of teachers in the corner crying. The kid did this. I ain't not crying. If I'm crying, I'm crying because I can't beat you up. Excuse me, but I'm serious about the children and opposed to adults. They have to know that there's a boundary. You can't pass it and talk about striking me. It's not gonna work. But they got it. They understood. Miss McCooney, no, don't do it. They will protect me over each other. Don't talk to Miss McCooney like that. They used to seriously. They became my friend. They became children that respected, children of love, children of wanting to do what they needed to do. They come to me for anything. Miss McCooney, you got $1? Here, take 2. Miss McCooney, can I this? And you know, you gotta show them a special love. It's not about always the classwork of what you're giving them, of what the principal said to teach. You gotta gain a relationship first. If you don't have the relationship, everything is going to the garbage pail. So that's what teachers need to learn today. Build a relationship first, and everything will come into play.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yes.
And that's why I say thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Because you don't want me to comment on teaching and education.
I feel
in
sorry
New
for
York
them
City.
today.
It's
I
ridiculous.
feel sorry for them. Because they don't protect the teachers. They really don't.
Wow, Little Debbie is so complex. There's so much to, just you. And that's what these interviews are all about, right?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Any parting words before we end the interview?
Anywho?
Any parting words? Any last words you want to mention?
Well, I think I pretty much said it above all. I just want to say special to you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. And I know I have many more to come. It's just about getting around and getting the job done. I didn't even know if I was going to really get to meet you.
Of course. I'm glad. I know it was hard scheduling the last few weeks, and
Yes.
thank you for being patient with me.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know,
I'd like to give special thanks for my husband, Freddie Priest, because without him, my music would not be where it is today.
awesome.
He's the one who molded me. He's the one who, he used to sit in the studio booth and look at me like, and I used to be scared of him because he just was a no-nonsense person. I need strong people behind me like that. When you have a person who's soft, and that means you can walk over them. I don't like that, but he's strong, he's sturdy, he's serious, and he's about his business,
Got you.
and I appreciate that for Freddie Priest.
Awesome.
Yes.
What's your hip hop anthem if you had one?
I really don't have a hip hop anthem.
Got it. We like to end all of our interviews with one last question. What does the Bronx mean to you?
The Bronx is basically my world from 8 years old up to now. This is where I make my living. I practically learned everything what I know in the Bronx. I learned my teaching style, I learned my modeling, I learned all that stuff I learned while I was here in the Bronx. I appreciate the Bronx.
Awesome. Could you just drop that term, the way you would say it behind the mic? Does somebody say ho for us?
Somebody say ho, say ho. Somebody say ho.
Awesome. That's Little Debbie,
Yes.
the Bronx Hip Hop Oral History Project. Peace.
Peace.